Hey guys, it's Nina Hart, President of the National Nurses in Business Association. Welcome to our Tuesday live stream. And today's topic is one that keeps coming up. It actually came up this morning. And so I wanted to kind of pivot today's topic and talk about realigning and resetting when you're not seeing results. And so much of the time, for nurses that I'm talking to, we are showing up, we're doing all the things, we're really putting ourselves out there, and we're just not seeing the results that we want to see. And sometimes that can be just maybe our results that we want to see need more time, right? That doesn't necessarily mean that they're not going to happen. It just means we're not seeing what we want to happen when we want to see it. And so I think that's really hard because we feel like I'm doing what I've, been told is the way that is going to lead me to success, and it's just not happening. And so I think we all go through that. I know I do. I know that there are many times when I'm doing all the things and I'm like, man, this doesn't feel like it should be this hard. And sometimes we feel like it shouldn't have to be this hard, and it is, or it feels very hard. There's a lot of resistance. There's a lot of stress or like friction. And I think that there are ways that we can overcome that are so simple, right? They're simple, they're free, we can do it ourselves, and we don't realize that. And so today, that's what I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about those times where you're showing up, you're putting in the work, and you're just not seeing the outcome that you hoped for. And so I know for me, there's this point where I'll kind of, in the past, have been like, I need to work harder, right? I need to do more. Maybe I'm not posting enough. Maybe I'm not emailing enough. Oh, this is because I don't have three different formats: a long form, a short form, and a video, and a blog, and a funnel. And I don't have all the things. And sometimes I think we get really caught up in those things being what we were supposed to do. And then if we aren't doing 120% of everything, then that's the reason why we think our business isn't working. And I have, after 5 years of working for myself full time now, and after talking to hundreds and hundreds of nurses about their businesses, and nurses who were successful and nurses who gave up before they saw success, I can confidently say that this is all mindset work. This has nothing to do with the grind. I don't ever want you to confuse showing up for your business with the grind. Those are not the same thing in my mind. This is just, you know, deep thoughts with Nina on Tuesday here, but I don't ever want you to think I'm suggesting that you cannot show up for your business and still see the outcomes that you want to see, because that would be like more like luck, or a fluke, or going viral, or maybe you are blessed enough to have a whole team that you can snap your fingers and execute your strategy. I did not have that. Most of the nurses who are starting their businesses that I know, that I work with, do not have that. So we're talking here about, when is the line between showing up for your business and being aligned and putting the work in and creating a business you love, versus grinding and hustling and working all night and still not seeing the money coming in, and feeling like, maybe I'm not supposed to be doing this. Maybe this isn't for me. Maybe my business isn't successful, or maybe I'm just not cut out for this, and feeling like everything is really hard and heavy, right? So I wanted to talk about that today because I keep hearing this. I try and talk about things that are trends, and so people, can feel like they can identify with what I'm talking about. If you've ever felt this way, please engage with me in the chat. Let me know. I've got the chat open. I'd love to hear your feedback on this topic and this content. So it helps me a lot. If you've ever felt like I'm doing everything, so why isn't it working? I think the first thing that's really important is to like normalize that. That is not negative, and it's not something that you're like doing something wrong. I think we personalize that instead of normalizing it. We're like, this is a me issue. I am wrong. I am not doing something right. I am missing the mark here. I am not executing well, or people just don't like me. And that's why they're not paying me for my services, or whatever your inner child rationale here is. That is not the way to think about being stuck or being frustrated with how your business is going. Or maybe you feel great about your businesses and in general and about your opportunity, and you have tons of hope, but you just feel like there's this wall or there's this barrier to this thing that you're trying to do. I think a lot of times it's like, man, I really want to do XYZ. I feel like that is the answer. That is the thing. That's my big break. How? And I get stuck in that strategy of how to make that happen. And then I just die there, right? Like that's just the end. And so I think that's really easy to do as well, even if you're not like um, feeling, frustrated that you're not seeing the results. You're feeling like there's some block in your business somewhere. Kind of the same thing. These are normal, these are expected. And, these can be shifted. They're flexible, they're fixable, they're common, they happen to everybody. Everybody goes through periods of like inspiration and then periods of like, I just don't feel like doing this right now, or I just don't feel like this is working, or I just am not aligned with this anymore. It just doesn't feel exciting and fun, right? And so, there is an appropriate time and place to have a strategy, right? Because it's not always gonna feel fun and exciting. There are tasks in your business that are not in your strengths, or might feel draining, or might feel like, "Ew, I just don't like that," right? And if you can't find a way to do it that feels good and feels aligned for you, then you might get stuck in the mud. And so, you know, today I just kind of wanted to share a couple of strategies that I've used and a couple of ways that I guide nurses out of this, because it really, if it's not addressed, can um, can cause you to quit, right? Or to give up, or at the very least to stop moving forward. If you've been moving your business forward and you've been showing up, and you hit one of these barriers, hit one of these walls, and you don't work through it, you're not able to redirect yourself, and you don't have someone in your corner to help you get out of it, it really could be the end of your business. And I don't want that. So I want to give you some strategies today on how you can kind of get out of this stuck place. So I think evaluating where this is coming from is important. So if you can't tell, like, where are you putting all the effort in, or where are you putting this energy in that you're just not seeing any return from, the first the first thing I would recommend doing is asking, like, is this really necessary for me to keep doing this? Do I really need to move this forward? Is this a need for my business? Is this something that has to be done? Because if not, I have been moving to a model of like, okay, if I feel resistance, if it doesn't feel good, I'm not doing it, right? I'm done. And so if you're putting a lot of effort into something that is not bringing any revenue in, and you're not seeing movement, you're not feeling like it's flowing, you're not seeing a return on that time and energy you're investing, I would encourage you to stop doing that, especially if it's not bringing in anything in return. I would ask you, is this the right messaging? Is this the right audience? Is it the right product or service? Because if you're seeing no return off of all that energy being put in, delegate it out or stop doing it, delete it, right? Um, and I recently had a coach who was telling me about how to kind of weigh what I need to do and what my team can do for me, and how to really prioritize. And it's that kind of grid matrix of like, is this something I can delegate? Is this something I can delete? Does it even need done? And I think prioritizing, we've talked, you can go back to the YouTube video that we did about how to prioritize what you should be doing in your business, how to decide what you should be working on. Because if you're not seeing a return, you probably shouldn't be doing it, right? It's probably not the right thing to be doing right now. Or revisit your messaging, revisit your audience, revisit how you are um, describing the outcomes that they're going to get if it's a service or project and you're a product and you're not seeing that movement there. Or if it's just draining, right? If it's just draining you, if it's a task that drains you, get a VA and delegate that out. Like if it is draining you to the point where you're feeling frustration and feeling like you're considering giving up on your business, you just should not do it at all. You just should not be doing that at all. If it drains you to the point of thinking that you should give up your business over this task, find someone else to do it. You can find a VA overseas, a support person who can help with clerical tasks for like $5 to $10 an hour. So very reasonable, very helpful. There's all kinds of project-based support on Fiverr or Upwork if you just have one project that you're stuck on. If you're stuck on one project and you're like, "This needs to happen for me to move forward and I don't have the capacity to do it," go to Fiverr or Upwork and hire someone to do it. Maybe you should not be doing it at all, and they'll probably do it better than you because 'cause they're not entrenched in all the things of your business. So, looking at creative solutions to problems is really important. But if it's more of a big picture issue, like I'm frustrated that all my tactics aren't working. It's not just a sheet, a Google sheet I need filled out. I'm frustrated that all my tactics for marketing and sales and growth are just not where I want them to be. And I just can't move things forward. One thing I would challenge you to do is determine the real problem. So, is it strategy or misalignment? That's what we talked about. The second step would be go back to a time when it worked. And something that I've done pretty regularly, I've talked about it a lot, is like mindset resets, resetting your energy, resetting your alignment, resetting your mindset, getting a new perspective, bringing yourself back from this like cloud of detachment, this cloud of overwhelm, back into your body, back into the present, back into what you're doing. This is something I have had to spend a lot of time on. And it's all very woo woo and floofy floof. And I can live with that if you can. But if you haven't tried any of it, then I would say that you probably don't have a educated opinion on it. So if you're saying, "Oh, that stuff doesn't work," and you have never actually done it, then you don't actually know if it would work for you. So some of the options, some of the solo tools that you can do by yourself, you can Google this and see if it's something that would work for you. Is EFT. So this is like tapping, so, like finding the areas where you feel stress and tapping through it and clearing emotional static, clearing that um, cloudy feeling. And again, Google this and see if you can find a free tool or free video that could get you started. But these are some tools that, even if they seem woo woo, I really encourage you to try and see if they're for you before you roll them out. Because a lot of the things that I was doing, I truly believed in my mind that I lacked the structure and strategy needed to be successful, and it wasn't that at all. I've never had a strategy. I've never had, all the things that I thought I needed, and I probably never will. But when I bring myself back into what I do have and how I want to help people, none of that matters anymore. So it's really, really important to have your mindset be in a place that's going to be moving your business forward. AFT, aroma freedom technique, is a really, really good one. So it's using oils and memory to go back to a time when, in your life and work through these memories to get to your goal. That's been amazing for me. I know a lot of nurses out there who are using somatic tools, so breath work, grounding, movement, sound bathing, all these things. These are all amazing tools to get you mentally into the place where you can see a different perspective about your business. If you're frustrated, um, you can even physically remove yourself from that feeling by getting up from your computer and walking away. It's that simple, right? That is the level of simplicity that I'm talking about here is when you feel frustrated, you feel like your business is not going the way you want it to go, you're not seeing the outcomes you want to see. Physically remove yourself from it and get up and take a walk and go outside and phone a friend and talk to your partner and put your feet on the ground, or even the most simple things that we don't do in real time because we think that's not the answer, can be so refreshing and resetting and uplifting. um, you know, we really have to reframe our thoughts. One of the things I talked about in my leveraging failure for success talk at NNBA in 2023 or 2022, I think it was 2023, repetitive autosuggest. So if you've ever heard of the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, I highly recommend it. But he explains that our brain really wants to help us. But when we are speaking to ourselves in a way that is negative, that is unhelpful, we're actually undoing a lot of the work that was moving us forward. So being really, really intentional about our thoughts. So repetitive auto-suggestion would be telling your brain, I'm a millionaire. I'm a multi-million dollar business owner. I operate multi-million dollar businesses. I love it. I do it with joy and ease. It energizes me. I help people. It's literally telling your brain what you want it to work towards. This is me preparing my brain for the work that we're doing. And my brain says, I want to help her. I'm going to do this. I'm going to move us in this direction. I'm going to take action. I'm going to give her ideas that align with this thought process. But if we're telling our brain, I can't do this. This isn't working. This isn't worth it. This isn't worth the time and energy I'm putting into it. This is too much. I'm not smart enough for this. This is so overwhelming. Those are the thoughts it's going to say, "Oh, okay, we're not doing this anymore. We're done with this. We're not going to be thinking about this. We're not going to be putting energy or effort into this. So we don't need to worry about that. Just this is too much for her. This is too much for him. We will just do something else," right? So we have to be really, really intentional and careful about how our thoughts align with our reality. Um, that I talk a lot about like quantum leaps, and I love the concept of like collapsing time. And when you really get a hold of this mindset stuff, when you really, really tap into what your limiting beliefs are and retrain your brain and start doing that, um, repetitive auto suggest regularly, start using affirmations, start journaling and doing that shadow work of like, what is really keeping me frustrated and stuck? What really is it? Is that I don't believe I deserve happiness. I don't believe I can manage money. I don't believe I have value to sell something to someone or to offer this value to someone. These are the things that actually become our reality, right? So when we spend our mental time and space on believing those things, on those limiting beliefs and giving them power over our thoughts and reality, that is what we are projecting out into our world. And so it's really, really important to pay attention to those things and to intentionally address those things. Um, and then kind of the last thing I really wanted to um, talk about specifically on this was sometimes it's just deciding. I think that emotion is great and healthy and can move us and inspire us, but it can also overpower our rational mind on what we're supposed to be doing. So I think it's really important to stop feeling everything that we're doing. I feel overwhelmed, so I'm just not going to do anything today. I feel like I'm not ready, so I'm just not going to start my business. I feel like I can't manage money, so I'm just not going to try. I feel like I could be a fraud, and so I'm not going to even explore what it could look like if I wasn't a fraud. And all these things are emotions on how I feel. I feel scared. I feel anxious. I feel, sad. I feel angry with my job, and sometimes those can help move us towards things we want. But if we allow them to interfere with our business, then we are in a very dangerous position, and we're not operating like a business owner. We're operating like a person who is an employee, right? Who can react any way they want because they work for someone else. When you work for yourself and your business is what you're operating, you can't make your business decisions based on how you feel that day. You need to show up with aligned action, and you just need to make a decision. So for me, when I start to feel a certain way, I still show up for my business. I still decide, you know what? I don't feel like doing this today. I don't feel inspired. I don't feel creative. I don't feel particularly qualified to do this today. I don't feel like I have all the information I want to make a good decision here. However, today I am in this position. I'm fortunate. I'm grateful for it. I am appreciative of it. And so I'm going to make a decision that supports me moving forward. I decide to be the person who shows up anyway. And a lot of the time, we have to make those decisions when we don't feel equipped, but we have to move from that place of our identity is who we want to be. Who's the person we want to be? I want to be a multi-million dollar business owner. I want to have a life that's exciting and joyful and flexible, and that, like in my real life, when my son hits his head and gets a traumatic brain injury on the last day of school last Wednesday, I can guilt free clear my schedule and be with my son and not have to worry about anything. I did not have to worry about getting fired. I did not have to worry about losing clients. I didn't have to worry about losing money because my businesses are still working, because I've built businesses that are working all the time without me in it. And that's what I'm really trying to do here is create a business that supports my life, right? And so I'm never going to feel like I'm completely equipped for that. I know that. I have accepted that I'm never going to feel 100% equipped for what I've been called to do here. Okay, I've come to a place of peace with that. So at this point, I have to decide what I want to do, regardless of the facts or the feelings that present itself. I'm going to decide this is what I feel aligned with. This is what I feel is wise. Some of this comes from discernment. Some of this comes from, learning. Some of it comes from nursing, from critical thinking, and from assessments and making plans, right? And what would I do in this situation? And then you just decide and you go with it. If you're taking care of a patient and you have to make a decision for their care that could impact their life, or you have to convince the care team that there's a need there that no one else sees but you. You don't do that because you don't not do that because you feel afraid. If you think it's the right thing to do, I hope you do it, right? So you go by, okay, this is the right thing to do. I feel like I'm not sure. I feel a little insecure about it, but I think it's important. I'm going to make the decision to tell everybody this is what we got to do. Here's what I think's going on. Here's where we have to move from. So you need to decide who you want to be, what that future life looks like. That was an exercise that I did in 2020 that really, really helped me. I literally wrote, I think, pages and pages. I still have it, like 5 pages worth of what I wanted my future life to look like, to every detail of how I woke up, where I was, what I spent my time doing, who I was with, what clothes I wear, what car I drive. And you'll hear this from a lot of high level coaches. Do exercises like this because you have to make the decision to embody the person. It's not pretending, it's practice, because that's the person you're working towards becoming. And it's really important to make decisions from that place instead of a place of frustration and failure and fear and lack, right? Because that triggers us to make different decisions than we would make if we were living the life of the person we want it to be, right? If you were feeling confident, empowered, if all the money you wanted to see was coming in, you might make a very different decision than if you were afraid this was your last $1,000 and not a cent was coming after that. You might not be willing to spend that on something, or you might not be willing to put yourself out there in a way that you need to. And so we really have to be that person we want to be in order to get unstuck out of the person, who's stuck in these emotions and these frustrations. And so that's really how we can realign our thoughts and beliefs and really, really work on our perspective about our situation. And it's an opportunity to grow into that person. And so I would encourage you to know that you're not behind. I think that's the number one feeling that I hear nurses telling me is, I feel so behind. I should have done this. I should have a lead magnet. I should have an email list. I should be doing so much more. I should have sold 1,000 books. I should have 10 coaching clients by now. I should. We're not shoulding on ourselves anymore, right? Okay. So we have to be okay with where we're at, and at the same time be visualizing and be very intentional and be very clear about where we want to be. And then everything we do, without a strategy or not, strategy or no strategy, everything we do, we're taking aligned action one step at a time towards that goal, towards that vision of the person that we want to be. And so, you know, I've heard a lot of people ask, if I knew my breakthrough was already here, was going to happen, if I knew I would be successful no matter what would I do today? And then just moving in that in that aligned action, moving forward. So I think that if you're feeling frustrated, if you're feeling like you're behind, you're not seeing the outcomes that you want in your business, it may be tempting. It may be very tempting. I know this personally, to try and get more strategy, to try and have 1,000 open tabs and try and figure out what you're supposed to do next. Should I do a webinar? Should I have a course? Should I, you know, have an email autoresponder? Should I do all these things? And maybe those are things you should be doing. I don't know. I would encourage you to back away from the doing, less worrying about the doing, because most likely the problem that you're experiencing right now is in the being. You're not being the person. You're not showing up as the person who has the things that you want to have, who does the things that you want to do, who consistently shows up in a way that helps people and serves people. So I don't think that you should keep trying to do more and more and more, right? I don't think doing more is what's going to bring you the outcomes and the results that you want to see in your business. I really have seen in my own experience and in the experience of so many others that it's really being the person you want to be, showing up as that person, moving in aligned action with that person that you want to be, focusing on your mindset, prioritizing those positive thoughts about yourself and who you are, regardless of whether this, is working or not. Really staying in that mindset that moves your business forward. So I hope this was helpful and encouraging for you today. That was really my mission, and I'd love to hear your comments and feedbacks. All right, we'll talk to you next week.